Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today we have the awesome Ralph with us. Hi, Ralph. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really good, Sasia. Very good. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for having me.
thank you ever so much. It's a real pleasure to have you on the show. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do, Ralph?
I'm from San Francisco, California, and but I've lived all over the United States, and currently I'm the chairman of a company called Intercept Music,
Yeah,
and it's really a tech company with music distribution globally and some social media marketing services that go along with that.
awesome. And how long have you been doing that for now, Ralph?
Well, it really started about 7 years ago, and let me just give anybody that's thinking about getting into the tech industry a warning.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you have the right developer. Well, I wasted a couple of years and some money in not having the right developer,
sorry to hear
but
that.
I partnered with somebody that's my partner today who's a tech genius. And we think we have a product currently that's second to none out there with the digital distribution world. Um,
That's really, really important as well in today's climate, especially if you want to be an international star. So tell us a little bit more about distribution, what that does, and how that supports artists.
Yeah, well, distribution is obviously critical, I've seen the distribution evolve over the years. And I like to say this because people think it's so different today. It is different because it's digital, but behind it, it's kind of the same principle, right? I mean, when I started, it was a record that was like this with a big hole in the middle of it. It's no different than a download today or a stream today. You still have to market that. Nothing has changed. It's just become a tool and you have to market it. So, but, but, but back in the day, you were limited in what your music tastes were because you were programmed to by radio stations.
That's correct. Yeah.
Today, it's like you can find your music anywhere in the world. You can, um, young people today, and a lot of people today are not afraid to experience new music. You find new music, and people today have noticed that I just love this. This is like I'm a passionate guy about the music business, and I've spent my whole life in it, right? People are discovering things today that they would never have discovered before because of the internet and how you can find new music. It's really amazing.
I think it's great, but also the value of music has kind of gone down though with that, hasn't it? I think we've got more access to music, but now you can get music for free, whereas back in the day you actually had to pay for the music. Is that correct?
That's a double-edged sword. And
Right,
yes, you're right about that. Back in the day, I recall, having worked on major rock acts in the 70s and the 80s. And there was a lot of artist development that was going into acts at that time, whether it was a Steely Dan or whether it was Fleetwood Mac or whether it was John Mellencamp. I remember John Mellencamp specifically because he released an album and they sold 50, 60,000 units. They released another album and they sold 100, 150,000 units. And then he didn't really break until the third album.
right. Okay.
We don't get that opportunity today. That's a definite something that is not as uh, companies do not have the resources to put into something for 2 years down the line. Either it breaks quick through social media or it's on to the next one.
Yeah, I totally understand that. That's really important that you say that, Ralph. And you've been doing the music industry for like 45 years now, is that correct?
Yes,
Been a
yes,
long
I have.
So how did you start in the industry and how did you get into it?
Such a great story. It could go on for a long time, but I'm
Yeah.
going to keep it simple and short. I was met some guys in San Francisco that promoted records and for MCA, and I was running around in San Francisco. I had played in bands, and I was an amateur photographer, and I became very friendly with these guys. And when I saw what they did for a living, I go, "Oh my God, you mean you can get paid for promoting records to radio stations?" I thought that, well,
Wow.
that's for me.
Yeah.
So I I wound up. helping them with different things as an amateur photographer. And they had an act coming to town. I would do the photographs and so on and so forth. My family was in the flower business here in
Right.
San Francisco. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Elton John was coming to San Francisco for a tour at Oakland Coliseum Arena. And it was his first tour, the Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player tour.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And they said, hey, look, Elton just launched this new label called Rocket Records, and we want to present a flower float for him on stage when he does his encore
Awesome.
at the Oakland Coliseum Arena.
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, I could get that done, right? I would say yes to anything just to stay close to these guys, right? And so we created a flower float to bring on the stage for Elton. He flipped out. Never saw anything like it before in his life. Started ripping the flowers out, throwing them into the audience. The
Oh,
audience rushed the stage, and the rest is history. My
yeah.
friends got promoted to national positions, and they said, hey, listen, this might sound crazy, but we've got this guy that we think you should hire.
Oh,
And I got hired.
oh,
Believe it or not, I got
congratulations.
hired
Well,
from
lucky.
the
Yeah.
streets of San Francisco in a
Yeah.
flower shop to
Wow.
doing local promotion for MCA Universal.
What a turnaround. That's awesome story. Thank you ever so much.
Wild
So did you have a kind of educational background in the music, or was it just solely a passion?
passion,
Yeah.
passion. And I did play drums as a kid. So I had, and you know what? I came from a musical family. My aunts were music teachers. It was kind of in our blood.
Right.
But it was interesting back then because I was a street guy, right? And I came from a hood in San Francisco. And, you know, growing up in family businesses,
Mhm.
you got this ability to be able to talk to people, to be able to communicate with people, no matter where they were from.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't intimidated by anything. And
Yeah.
it just I just took to it
Yeah.
like, like a duck in water.
Mhm.
And back then it wasn't as analytical as it is today. It was a lot of personality.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you used personality. You used your charm. You used your charisma. You had to get noticed, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I was pretty good at that.
Oh, I love that story. And soft skills are really, really important. And I think a lot of people forget that these days. So tell us a little
Yeah,
bit about the soft skills and the socializing and the networking, because that's really, really important as well, isn't it?
that's really great that you brought that up. I have a partner now. His name is Todd Turner. Guy's a tech genius. He's astounded all the time about this business and
Yeah.
how this business is a business of relationships. And he comes from the cutthroat tech world.
Oh,
And, he just goes, oh my God, I love this business so much because, every attorney knows the other attorney and they all know this one and they all know that one. And, it's just a great business like that. And so it's unique in that way. And it worked for me. I'm so blessed. And that's, and I'm really glad you brought it up because um, this business has been incredible to me. It's been incredible to my family.
yes.
And there's been ups and downs. And it hasn't always been easy. I
Mm.
made a lot of money. I lost a lot of money, a lot of other things in between. But now it's time that we feel with Intercept Music that we can give back.
Brilliant. That's
We
lovely.
believe we have a socially conscious company. The artist maintains all of their rights. They can terminate the agreement with a 30-day notice.
Hmm.
We help them build their careers in ways that they never thought were possible before.
Yeah.
So it's just, I wake up every day and I just love doing this.
You have to love doing the music. I think music industry, it's more about the passion and the love for it, really, isn't it? It's not so much
Yes.
money. I think that comes if you're blessed and you're lucky. But I think you've really got to have a passion for something that you love to stick
You,
at it.
no
Yeah,
question about it. No
100%.
question about it,
Great.
Cecilia.
So tell us a little bit more about Intercept Records and what you do and how you kind of support artists on their way.
Yeah, I love talking about that. Uh, I love talking about it. I think we've come up with a couple of terms that I think that are that really fit this company. This
Mhm.
company is really unique. We are an global independent
Yeah,
music distribution company with social media marketing services attached to it.
yeah,
So if I had to describe it to you without mentioning any competitors, there's really DIY companies that anybody can go to. And then you have the Virgins or the Universals or the Warners or whatever, right?
yeah.
We like to think of ourselves, Sasia, as somebody in between.
A middleman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 So we're not that one, you just can't upload anything to our system.
Hmm.
We have to approve it first. We want to make sure that everything is sonically right, and we want to also make sure that, we're not here to judge people's music, but that it's good music, that it's respectable music. Let me just put it like that, right?
Yeah.
So so that's number one. Um, so we set ourselves apart with that, but you have to think of it like um, technology meets transparency.
Right. Yes.
And we believe that we have a site and we have a platform that we do three things for sure better than anybody else. One, um, our customer service is second to none. So everybody gets an account rep,
I love
right?
that. Yeah.
Yay. Well, because when we did the research, there were the two things that were the most glaring were transparency
Yeah.
and customer service.
Yes. 100%.
So our transparency, we're more transparent than I know. And I mean, I still have deals and I have content out on Universal and on other majors.
Right. Yeah.
Our platform is more transparent than anybody in the business. We can tell you if you've earned a quarter of a cent in Belarus.
Right. That's really, really
So,
important.
well, yeah, because then there's heat maps that go along with that.
Yes.
And if you want to do some advertising, maybe you're breaking in Sweden or Japan, and maybe that's where you want to put some emphasis.
Yes.
So it gives you that it guides you in that direction.
Yeah, 100%. And how important is marketing as well to your business and getting it right
Well,
and in the audience?
marketing is everything. And back to the 45 with the big hole in the middle of it. If you didn't market it, you were just another record on the shelves.
Yeah.
When you've got, I don't know what the number is today. I think it's a million new songs a month coming out.
I think it's
Maybe
like
it's
180,000 uploads a day on Spotify. I see that.
108,000 a day. That's 2 million a month. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
whatever that is a lot, right? So you've got to rise above the noise. And how do you do that? Number one is through social media.
Hmm.
That's got to be your number one. Your socials are critically important.
Yeah.
Back to Intercept, we help you manage those. We have a software
Mhm.
that allows you to create posts using our AI,
Okay.
and then you can edit those posts,
Brilliant.
and then you could schedule those posts to go out periodically for the next month.
Oh, that saves so much time. That's like hassle free, isn't it?
Time, energy, and you're because historically, unless an artist has a team behind him,
Right.
has a manager or somebody that's following through, artists tend to not do it.
Yeah.
They're creative. And it's really not their job,
Also,
right?
you have
But
to be.
they have to have it.
Yes, exactly. And I think, it's also about making sure that you're consistent, that you're ready, that you're prepared, but you're also business because music is a business as well. And I think a lot of people forget that as well. It's not just a hobby, it's actually,
Well, that's why they call you Sasia, you're right. The music business.
yeah,
It's a business.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously, with an artist coming into the industry right now, what kind of advice would you give them? Someone that's up and coming, they're looking to make it, trying to break it internationally. What kind of advice would you give them, Ralph?
Well, back in the day, nothing has changed when it comes to the song.
Hmm.
You've got to have
Top notch.
competitive music. It
Yeah.
all comes down to the song at the end of the day, whether it was 50 years ago or whether it's today. I think you've got a lot of opportunities today with YouTube and TikTok and with Instagram and X, and you've got a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
Um, but number one, it starts with the song.
Hmm.
Any good record guy will tell you it starts with the song. And if that song, if you're fortunate enough to get that song to take off, to for people to feel that and embrace it, right? That's what makes hits.
A lot of people can make music in their bedroom now, and I think the kind of, the entry to the industry is a lot lower than it used to be. Do you find the music industry has become oversaturated a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to rise above the noise. It's and some of the quality of the things that come out is just it clutters up things, right? It
Yeah.
just clutters up things. That's why marketing is so critically important. That's why your socials, fan engagement is really, really, you have to communicate with you have to make friends,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know. We've
Yeah.
also created something which none of our competitors have. We have merch made easy. So with our platform, when you sign up,
Hmm.
we can create a store for you,
Great. Oh, I love this.
non-exclusive,
Hmm.
non-exclusive, print on demand.
Love that.
So
Yes.
there's no upfront money,
Yeah.
and it ships to 150 countries around the world. So that's another source of revenue. If your socials are robust, you
Hmm.
could promote your own merch, and that's another source of revenue for you.
That's great because I tell you what, you don't make much money off recorded music these days like you used to. So this
No,
forward.
no, because if you think about it, I think in the best territory in the world, I think is Sweden, and I think it's $4,000 for every million streams, maybe 4,500 for every million streams. You go to Mexico, it's about 1,500, 1,700 for a million streams.
Yeah.
America's about $3,500 for a million streams. So anything you can do to augment that is really smart.
Yeah, it definitely is. Also, being in the music industry today, do you think identity has become way more important than it used to be? For example, an artist's identity, what they're about, what they bring to the table. Do you think that's more important than it used to be? Or do you
I
think,
think absolutely.
right?
Yeah, because that's part of the fan engagement, and I think people want to feel that they have an intimate relationship with
Yeah,
the artist.
yeah, part of the journey.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Totally
Yeah.
with you on that one, actually. And I think, it's also about responding to your fans and guests and interacting with them and making sure that they feel part of that too. So when people do leave you a comment, make sure you reply, you like it, you make the fans feel part of something
Yeah.
really important.
And with our merch, for instance, you can order some of the merch for yourself at cost. You
Mhm.
could sign things, you can give things away to your fans, and you could even get them more engaged. That's what fans love.
And you know what else I really like about your store is that you actually make it on demand. So you're not wasting products. You're not just spending a load of money on something that you might not sell, which is another thing
And
that you like.
yeah, and the artist gets 30% of the gross just by referring.
Brilliant. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about how do you get onto the platform? How would you go about doing that?
Well, you would go to Intercept Music and you would sign up.
Yeah. And do you
Yeah,
have to
that's
pay
it. And
anything?
then we will get back to you.
Okay.
We will get back to you and we will, go through the process with you and help you understand what the platform's all about.
Yeah.
It's really simple, really easy.
I'll make sure I leave all the links in the description below so all the listeners can go and check that out because we
It's
do
great.
have listeners coming along. So thank you for sharing that with us. How important do you think it is as well at the moment in the music industry to kind of make sure that you're being consistent, and you're bringing a brand to the table that people would be interested in? What would you say are the most beneficial things to do?
Cecilia, that is the brand is that you're creating a brand. That's what you are as an artist is you're creating a brand, and that is a critical part of you know uh, potential success. Um, but the game has changed a little bit also, where you have to be ready to go with new content every 2 or 3 months. The day where you drop something and waited 6 months or 5 months, that's over with. You
Yeah.
need to continually be releasing music continually.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of artists struggle with, and doing the social media and doing the social engagements and obviously doing the tours. It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot and it has to keep going.
Yeah,
It just doesn't, it can't stop, right? Because If that stops, we're
Money.
dealing with, fans today that are getting tugged in a multiple of different directions.
Mhm.
So you have to stay engaged with them.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you've been in the industry for a long time. What are the main trends and issues that you're seeing at the moment? And what would you say are the things to look out for in the future?
Well, I think that some of the basic fundamentals are the same.
Yeah,
You need to market your music. You want to be able to get out there and perform, and you need to create your fan base. And if you're a rock band, maybe it's local bars. If you're in a city that's got a radio station, maybe you go and even though that radio doesn't have the relevancy that it once did 10 years ago, but you want to go and maybe you can get some support there. As far as what's coming, what I see coming, what we're going to put an emphasis on in this company is AI,
brilliant.
not AI music,
Hmm.
not but AI
Of AI
to
music, but
help.
I am a fan of AI supporting.
Well, what we can do now,
Mhm.
and we've just started to program it. What we can do now is based on who you are, based on your socials, based on your monthly listeners on Spotify,
Yeah,
and we can create a marketing plan for you
excellent.
based on, anybody can create an elaborate marketing plan and spend all this money and do. None of that makes any sense, right? We could create something that can help you build your career step by step.
That's excellent.
And so back to what we discussed earlier, you mentioned it's not wasting any money. This is where you should put, if you're a rock band and these are your followers and you have this on Instagram and this on TikTok, this is where you should maybe do, a couple of $100 worth of Google ads. You should, or if you're an Americana act, maybe you should spend some advertising on Facebook, right? It tells you where to go
Yeah,
based on who you are.
based on the data and the facts as well, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
which is really, really important actually. And it's also a business decision. It's a very smart move to do. Now, a lot of artists that are making it out in the industry, they don't have a team around them. So your platform sounds like it builds a team around you, even if you haven't got one.
It's exactly what it does. And
Excellent.
it's a you can pick and choose what you like.
Mm.
You can, and we have those marketing services and we make them available. And then you actually can see it on your dashboard and you can see if you've moved the needle once you started to implement some of those marketing services.
I like that because you like to see progress, don't you? And I think sometimes we all sit there and think, are we doing enough? Are we making enough progress? Are we getting to the right people? And I think that's a tool that will gauge what's going on in the outside world.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Amazing. This platform sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to check it out and sign up myself and work
Please.
it out. And
Yeah, I'd love for you.
100%, I definitely will support you, Ralph. So tell us a
Thank
little
you.
bit more about some of the challenges and barriers that new and emerging artists are facing at the moment, coming into an industry that want to make it and they want to make it big.
Well, I think it's the same challenges we've always had. Again, you've got to be able to, get exposure. You need to be able to get recognized, right? And but you've got to create and come with the best music possible. And sometimes just the music by itself, you see things connecting through the socials that would have never connected before just because it stands out.
Mhm.
So it's hard to predict what we might be dealing with in the future, given the fact that it's changing so rapidly, and we're going to really see what kind of an impact AI has on things. But the principles of everything that you need to do, the fundamentals are the same things that you've needed to do for years.
Yeah.
It's just in a different format and in a different platform today.
Right. So it's a bit like having a CD or a disc, but now we're changing it to streaming.
It just changes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally understand that. And kind of what kind of do you think, being in the States, how is the music industry over there? Do you think there's a lot of growth going on at the moment? Is it become more competitive? Do you think the landscape's changing at all? What's going on?
The states, I think you see relatively the same.
Mhm.
There's a lot of new music coming out, a lot of hip hop music coming out. It's
Yeah.
really easy to make. You can do it at home. It's really easy to make. But I really see the excitement and a lot of growth and future in the Latin market.
Oh,
The Latin market just seems to be absolutely
okay.
exploding. And you know what? It kind of goes back to where we are in this industry today,
Mhm.
where people don't necessarily care where the music comes from. Sometimes they don't care if it's in a different language. How does it make them feel? Right?
Exactly.
Do
Yeah.
they like it?
Yeah.
You know? And that's an incredible thing. The Latin market is just seems to be exploding.
I love the sounds of that, and good luck to the
Yeah.
Latin musicians that are coming out because I love my Latin music. I
Yeah,
just
me too.
look a bit like myself. What would you like to see improve over the next couple of years in the music industry? Because there's been a lot of talk about certain issues and it not being always fair on artists. What would you like to see improve in the next few years?
Yeah, the fairness to artists it's always been there. I remember, back in the day, believe it or not, artists could sell millions of records and, they were still, they were really making their money on touring and merchandising because they saw very little record royalties. What happens is traditionally what those big companies would do would charge everything back against the artist. God only knows what that was, right? But back to what we've discussed before, Sasha, is that the song, copyright,
Yeah.
um, publishing,
Hmm.
those are the long-term annuities and kind of like the real estate
Yeah.
in this business.
Yes.
Um, you know, Another thing we're implementing into our platform is, to make your things available, make your music available for sync and licensing,
Right.
television, commercials, movies, so on and so forth. All of that is become, it's all really, really important today.
Kev, and to be honest with you, your platform, you're retaining all the rights. Is that right? The artist gets to retain the rights, which is your pension pot. It's your funds in the
That
future.
the artist retains all their rights. Yeah, even in their copyright. We take none of their copyright.
Yeah.
None.
See, that sounds really fair. That sounds really
Well, it
equal.
is fair. It really is fair. And our fees are fair,
Brilliant.
and I think I think for me, I couldn't be prouder of anything. And I've been in this business a long time, and I think I'm the most proud of this than anything I've done before here.
Oh, well done. Well, I'm proud of you. And, thank
Thank
you
you.
for making the music industry more equal, more fair, more equitable. It means an awful lot, especially to people like myself that are just starting out. And we can look up to you and say, if you can do this, it kind of inspires me to want to do good things too. So thank you ever so
Thank you. Yeah, we're really proud of it. And I think it's important. And I think that we lost a lot of that. And back to your question, I think artists were taken advantage of. I'll never forget when I saw Prince with slave across his forehead backwards so you could see it in the camera. Right. I think it was at Grammys. I'm not sure what it was, but I'll never forget that. And he did whatever he had to do to get out of those contracts. A lot of times now, that's another interesting thing about our breaking independently.
hmm
That doesn't mean, it really doesn't mean that you don't ultimately want to go to a major. You
No.
may want to go. Sometimes they have resources
Yeah.
for example, maybe they have video directors that they could get to that video director wouldn't give you the time of day as
Yeah.
an independent.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, if you break your record and you create some real excitement independently,
Yeah.
that deal that you strike with that major is much more favorable toward you.
Of course. Yes. You got more leverage,
So,
haven't you? More to work with.
yes,
Yeah.
because what they're thinking is some of their risk, because remember,
There
they
is a
have taken a lot of risk over the years.
yeah. Yes.
For every hit, I couldn't imagine, I can't even begin to tell you how many flops there must have been, right? But if you have something that they really want, you're going to make yourself a favorable deal.
Brilliant. Well, that sounds music to my ears, to be honest with you. Um,
Yes.
Ralph, I was going to say to you, is there any major wins and successes you'd like to share with us? We've got 5 minutes remaining left on the podcast because we don't do them for that long, but any major wins and successes?
Uh, I'll give you a story. Give you a fun one, a
Yeah.
cute one that I've done. There's some records that I've there's some records that I had. It was, by the way, it was a British artist. There was some real exciting successes that I've had. And the one record that I recall when I was working at 20th Century Records was an artist his name was Carl Douglas, and
Wow.
the name of the song was Kung Fu Fighting.
I love
And
Kung Fu fighting.
everybody loves that song, right? And so I was able to, I heard it and I went, oh my God, is this a home run, right? So I went on the road with a karate guy and we went broke coffee tables in radio stations.
Oh dear.
And then
Oh,
it was a huge success after that. And we went to one radio station and we did a skit, but the DJ was in the booth, right? And he was saying, "Now listen, I want you to go outside, and I want you to knock on the door like you're my boss, and tell me to take the record off." And he kept playing it over and over and over again for 1 hour,
yeah. Oh, dear.
and the rest was history, and that was kind of fun. That was a
Excellent.
lot.
I love that. Thank you ever so
Yeah.
much. And Ralph, if anyone wants to connect with you, find out more, collaborate, how could they do that?
Ralph.Tashian at interceptmusic.com.
Excellent.
And maybe you can put that on the screen, I guess, or
Yeah, I
yeah.
will.
And we're pretty, reach out and you reach out. We'd
I will.
love to hear back from you. And if somebody wants to reach out to you, you certainly can connect with me directly. You have all of my information and you have our publicist, so she's really great as well, Makita.
Awesome. And thank you ever so much for coming along today,
Well,
sharing your
thank you for the
story,
time.
your expertise. Such a great
Thank
guy.
you.
Wishing you enough.
Great. It was wonderful.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless.
God
Have
bless
a
you.
great week or have a great evening for you.
Yeah, it's evening now. It's late over here, but you know me, I work hours of the day, non-stop. I'm a go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.